Okay, in this section we're going to be learning how to solve linear equations that have fractional coefficients, and we're going to learn how to clear the fractions or decimal. Okay, so the first part of it is solving a linear equation that has fractions in it. So for example, we're going to try to solve 2/5 y plus 1/2 equals -7/10. And we have a set of procedures that we follow, which we talked about for just solving equations with integer coefficients. And the first thing we want to do is simplify each side of the equation. So simplify each side of the equation. That means each side of the equal sign, right? And we do that. There are a couple things we need to do first. If we have any parentheses, we're going to clear the parentheses, which means we distribute. Then we're going to clear any fractions we have, or decimals. And we do that by multiplying both sides of the equation by the same thing. And the third thing is we combine like terms. We do all three of these things before we move anything across that equal sign. So we're going to combine like terms. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we'll use addition or the subtraction property of equality to collect variable terms on one side and constant terms on the other. To collect variable terms on one side and the constant terms on the other side. Then we'll use multiplication or division properties of equality to make the coefficient of the variable term 1, and then of course we check. Okay, so this is our standard procedure, and so let's take a look at the problem that we have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. So I have, let's keep going. So again, I'll go back to my original problem, which was solve 2/5 y plus 1/2 equals -7/10. Okay, if we look at our equation here, we don't have any parentheses, so we don't have to just do any kind of distribution. But we do have fractions, so what we want to do is clear fractions. So we want to clear the fractions. And we do this by multiplying both sides of the equation with the least common denominator. So we want to multiply by multiplying both sides of equation by the LCD, least common denominator. Okay, so what is our least common denominator? We have a 5, we have a 2, and we have a 10, right? In this case, our least common denominator equals 10. So we need to multiply both sides of this equation by 10. And if I take a look, how many terms do I have? I have, see this 2/5 y, I have a 1/2, and I have a 10, so negative 7 tenths. So each one of those has to be multiplied by our least common denominator, which is 10. So let's go ahead and rewrite our equation. So we have 2/5 y, and we're going to multiply that. Well, let's see, I'll do this. 2/5 plus 1/2 equals negative 7 tenths. So if we multiply everything by 10, or by 10 over 1, right? Each one of these by 10 over 1. It's the same thing, same as multiplying it by 10. Right, then all of a sudden my denominators go away. That 5 goes into 5 one time, goes into 10 twice. 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 10 goes into 10 one time, 10 goes into 10 one time. So I've gotten rid of, I have 1's in all of my denominators, so all I have now is a 2 times 2, right, y, so I have 4y, plus, my denominator is 1 again, 5 times 1 is just 5, and that equals 1 times negative 7 gives me a negative 7. Okay, so that was the first thing we did. Now we've cleared the fractions, and we're going to start using our addition and subtraction properties of equality to move our constants and our variables around. So first I look at each side of the equal sign, and I can't do anything else, right? This is all, there are no like terms, so I can't do anything there. But I want to move I want to get rid of my 5, because that's with my 4y term. I'm going to try to isolate that first. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. This goes to 0. And I have a negative 7 minus a 5, and that's going to equal negative 12. Bring down my 4y. Okay, so now I have 4y equals negative 12. And the last thing I do is I try to get my coefficient for my variable, which is y, to be 1. And to do that, I divide both sides by 4. Because now the 4's cancel, right? That becomes 1, 1. And I simply get y equals 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. So my answer is negative 3. Right? So here I'm using the addition property of equality. And in this step here, I'm using the division property of equality. Oops, let's write that a little bit better. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. Get my pen back. Division property of equality. Okay, now the last thing we can do is check, right? So we can always check it by plugging everything back in. So let's see. So our answer was negative 3. Let me see if I can get a new page. Okay, so we said that my answer is y was negative 3. So y equals negative 3, and our equation was 2/5 y plus 1/2 equals negative 7 tenths. So let's check to see if this works. If we have 2/5 times negative 3 plus 1/2, and I always put a little equal sign with a question mark over it because I'm not sure yet, I'm testing it, right? So I'm going to stay on either side of that equal sign and see if I come up with negative 7 tenths. So here I have, this is just like negative 3 over 1, so I have a negative 6 over 5 plus 1/2. And if I keep going, I need to find the least common denominator, which is 10. So I need to put each of them over 10. 10. And I multiply the top and bottom here by 2. So that gives me a negative 12. And over here to get it to 10, I multiply by 5 over 5. So I get 5. And keep it over 10, I have a negative 12 plus 5. And sure enough, that's negative 7/10. And so negative 7/10 equals negative 7/10. And my answer checks.